Welcome, friends, to the Marketing B-Sides. I'm your host, Tom Hootman. I'm also the CEO and founder of Mixtape Digital, but that's not what this is about. This is the Marketing B-Sides. This is the podcast where, of course, every single last person on earth is a marketer, and not a single one of us pretends to even remotely have it figured out for a moment. Today is a bit of, I guess we'll call it nepotism. Marketing nepotism, and a guest I'm very excited to have on. And I've been holding back having this guest because I didn't want to just open with someone that I work with, to be honest. Susan Wenograd. Susan and I, full disclosure, we work together here at Mixtape Digital, but I owe a lot to Susan, and Susan has been an integral part of this team even before Mixtape Digital was a thing. I've known Susan for, goodness, almost 15 years, and few funny side notes. She talked me into starting Mixtape Digital. She was working on me a handful of years ago, and she said, you really should just do this thing. And I think everyone needs that person in their life, that at that moment where you're like, I don't know if I can do this, which is like everything with me. I don't know if I can do this. Who was like, you got this. Go ahead and do it. And then jumped in and saved the day for me on numerous occasions, bails me out daily, and does all this at the same time. She owns a candle company, Candles, which we will vociferously link to. Order your fucking candles from Susan, please. I don't know how she does it all. One of the busiest women in show business. She is herself to the core, and that's what I love the most about her. She is honest, transparent. She is everything that I want and hope for Mixtape Digital to be, and I couldn't be more thrilled for her to make time for me. Not only that, this was recorded at 9 a.m. on a fucking Monday after I canceled on Thursday and I canceled on Friday because it was just never, pro tip, never schedule your podcast recordings later in the week, because when the week unravels on you and you have a basement that floods, you're fucked. She is so flexible and willing to like just make it happen. I just can't say enough amazing things. I wish everyone had a little bit of Susan Wenograd in them. You do. It's just untapped. It's a wonderful conversation. We talk about the candle business. We talk about client leadership. We talk about the worst clients to work with. We talk about a travel story from hell for an SMX in Milan. And we also talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, which is neurodivergency and managing ADHD, because it's something that I work through and I'm very open and honest about. And I appreciate Susan's perspective as well. So I think it's a wonderful episode. I hope you enjoy it. You know what to do. Do your thing. Leave us a review, like, subscribe, leave us a bad review. I don't give a shit. I like a fight. More than anything, thanks for listening. Same question I ask everybody. If your career had a playlist, what are 2 to 3 songs that would be on it? And we take these songs and we put them on a master Mixtape Digital Marketing B-Sides playlist. It's the shittiest playlist in the world because it's all over the place. But
I think it kind of depends. I always think of my work every day as like needing certain types of music. So I feel like if I look at it from a how does my day go kind of thing, the morning is probably going to be something classical, like Claire de Lune or something, because that's when I'm like in spreadsheets and I'm pulling data. And it's like, if there's lyrics, I start singing and I'm not paying attention. So it's usually like jazz, like a Miles Davis or like a Claire de Lune oriented classical kind of thing, because I just need quiet and coffee and Excel or Google Sheet cells. That's kind of my morning usually, is just like, okay, did anything blow up over the weekend? What's going to be coming? I feel like midday as we get into meetings, it's probably going to be very adrenaline fueled. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like I usually end up putting on some Rolling Stones or classic rock of some kind, just because I need something timeless that has a lot of energy. So I would say probably like one of the Rolling Stones. I'd have to follow up on which one, because I just have like a playlist of theirs that it just flips through basically.
Do you like older Stones or 70s Stones or like 80s, 90s Stones?
I'm into like 60, 70 Stones.
Yeah,
so it's probably going to be like Gimme Shelter or one of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gimme Shelter's a good choice.
Yeah, like one of those.
Very Martin Scorsese of you.
Isn't it though? I know.
Yeah.
And then I would say afternoon. That's a tough one, because I kind of cycle back into like the concentration piece of kind of like, okay, what happened during the day? What do I have to take care of?
What do I have to get done with so I can finish my fucking day?
100%. So it's like, I don't want anything that's like screaming at me because I'm trying to focus still, but I also need the energy piece of it because I'm just starting to go on the downslope. I feel like that would be more like poppy kind of Imagine Dragon-y or new Taylor Swift kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Where it's like easier listening, but still upbeat kind of thing.
So you listen to Taylor Swift?
Yeah. I'm a word nerd. Like, who's not going to listen to someone? I mean, I'm like the pop music itself is kind of but she's a really good lyricist. So I appreciate her way with language.
Everyone picks a Taylor Swift song. It's like every podcast, everyone's like, and this Taylor Swift song. And I'm like, I wouldn't know it if I heard it. If it hit me in traffic, I would have no idea. But I'll take everyone's word for it. Kayla Kurtz is the world's biggest Taylor Swift fan. So she's always about Taylor.
I wouldn't say that I'm like everyone's, like I'm the biggest fan ever. The funny story is my dad actually got me into her.
What?
Yeah, my dad he's a guitar player and he really likes singer-songwriter stuff. So he wasn't into like her pop stuff. But when Evermore and Folklore came out, he was like, "Oh my God, this girl's super talented." Like he just fell in love with her folk era.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really listen to the new stuff, but he loves that stuff. So it was on when I was at his house one time and I was like, "Wow, it's actually really good." And so so I'm not really into like her older poppy stuff, but I have a lot of appreciation for kind of her Nevermore, her Evermore rather. Sorry, I've got Poe in the brain.
Well, it is spooky season.
But yeah, her Evermore and Folklore was what kind of got me into her a little bit more. So
That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a line I use in every single pitch.
Yeah.
That I love, and I hope it doesn't offend you.
You can't offend. I'm not. I'm impossible to offend.
I know, and it's the beautiful part of working with you.
I'm always afraid I'm going to offend somebody else.
It's funny because we work with a lot of people that I used to work with before years ago at Hannapin, and Hannapin had a type, right? It was like very Midwestern, all shucks. I don't want to be too aggressive. I just like, they're very polite, very kind, wonderful people. And I'm always telling them, I'm like, just go to Susan with this. I think Susan's busy. She'll tell you if she's fucking busy. Like Susan doesn't give a shit.
You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, no. It'll bounce off her. Trust me.
Yeah, it's like,
she'll tell you straight up.
You took like the Philadelphian and put it in the middle of the Midwesterners, and they're like, I don't know. You're like, you're never gonna.
I enjoy picking up the Midwesterners and throwing them into the Philadelphia. It's my favorite part, quite honestly.
I try and be kind.
So I always tell people in pitches, and it was a great sales rep I worked with when I first worked in outside sales. And we would do multiple stops, like 15 stops at restaurants and like nursing homes and schools and anywhere that would buy food. And he would walk in and tell the same fucking 2 stories or 3 lines 15 times. And I was like, this is mind numbing. And then it dawned on me, they're all different. So they're hearing it for the first time. So I use these same things in pitches every time. And I'm sure they're old to us, but I always say to folks like, Susan talked me into starting Mixtape Digital, had worked on me for years about it. We've known each other for like 15 years.
That's crazy.
And I said, she's been in this business so long, I don't want to date it, but I'll just say that her first job in digital marketing was at Circuit City, which is a good line, and it immediately adds context. So I say that like at the precursor of like, you've had a long, illustrious career, showing no signs of slowing down. But what's a moment in your career you look back on and laugh now that wasn't very fucking funny at the time? Can
it be business travel?
Yeah, totally.
I think the worst trip ever. And if Kirk Williams and Joe Martinez are watching this, they will know because they were at this conference. You could not create a worse business travel story. Like planes, trains, and automobiles was nothing compared to me getting to Milan, Italy. It was the worst.
What conference was this?
It was the one that's done. It was the SMX one, but for the Milan version. I was a featured keynote speaker, and thank God I deliberately planned to get there like 2 to 3 days before because I slept like the entire first day. So getting there, the plane was supposed to take off at 10 o'clock at night, and we were supposed to connect in Amsterdam in the next morning. It didn't take off till 3 o'clock in the morning. We were not fed anything. We were stuck. I was at my connection in Atlanta. That's where I got held up. Everything was closed. So you have a plane full of starving people. They moved us to a different, smaller layout plane. So the really nice ticket I was supposed to have where I could like lean back, they put me against the wall. So I couldn't recline. They didn't feed us. And so we get to Amsterdam, and I was supposed to connect with Alitalia. And because we were like 5 hours late, there was no flight for, I don't know, 6 hours. So, and in the middle of it, when I go to like rebook, they look and they're like, oh, your luggage is going to De Gaulle.
Mon Dieu.
Paris.
Yeah, great.
That's not where I'm going.
It's not where I'm going. Paris is a beautiful city. I hope my luggage enjoys it.
I know. I hope it had a nice tour. So I go and get dinner at the Amsterdam airport. knowing I have like no luggage coming, so who knows. Get on the plane, land in Italy at, I don't even know. I want to say it was like 11 o'clock, midnight their time. I've been up for like 30 something hours. I have no idea what day it is. I have no idea what time it is. I want a shower. I want a bed. So I land and I go to get it. There's no luggage. So I spend like 45 minutes at the luggage counter. They're giving me all this information. She's trying to speak English. It was a comedy of errors. I go out to get a cab and I don't have my credit card because I left it at the Amsterdam airport, and all I have is an American Express, and none of the cab drivers will take Amex.
Holy fuck.
So I'm like crying. This is the illustrious life of a speaker, but business travel is so glamorous. I'm like, it is so the opposite of glamorous when you are standing on the island where the taxis are at the airport, and you are crying your eyes out because no one will give you to your hotel room. And finally, some very kind Italian taxi driver took pity on me and took me. But I think I slept for like 20 hours. I was so tired. I mean, amazingly, they did deliver my luggage to the hotel like 2 days later. But yeah, that was, so by the time I got on that stage, I'm like, I need to go home. I need to go home.
Susan, that's a horrible, horrible, horrible story.
It was so bad.
And
so
like,
now it's like I laugh, but it was so bad. Kirk and Joe, there was like a snowstorm or something when they were getting home. So Kirk made us t-shirts that he sent to Joe and I that had the Milan skyline, and it said Il Corso di Milano. I still have the shirt because all of our travel was terrible. None of us got where we were supposed to be going. It was a mess. It was the biggest mess ever.
When you talked about the moment that broke you, that you were starting to talk about it, and I was like, that's the moment that would break me. And then I was very happy to hear that also broke you. That's when I just like, you think you're going to break a couple times on those trips and you don't. And then it's the last thing that just like absolutely.
It's like you stay numb. There's like an adrenaline hum where you're just like, it's just one. And I'm you roll with the punches, you deal with stuff as it comes in, right? Like you can't overreact. You can't expend a lot of energy reacting to it at this point. You just got to figure out. So I'm like, I'll just figure out. Finally, I'm like, I can't figure this out. I don't have a Visa. I don't have a MasterCard. Like, there's no solution. That's when I lost it.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of like when you say there's no solution. It reminds me of one of the scariest, literally scariest, like during the Great Resignation.
Yeah.
At Brain Labs, when everyone was quitting. Like I've never had this in this industry before. Like where everyone's quitting. You always have a couple people quit, and you're like, oh shit, how are we going to chessboard this and like play Tetris? And it got so bad. I was trying to save someone on the phone while on vacation with my wife in Brooklyn at the Andy Warhol Museum. And I'm in a stairwell trying to address their list of 5 demands they made. And just to keep this one person. And like one of the demands was like, I don't want to have a non-compete. And it was like people, it felt like people were taking you, like holding you hostage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the scariest moments was one of the most brilliant strategists of operations I've ever worked with, Jeff Baum, JJ, called me one day and he was like, he was broken. He's like, I don't have another move. He's like, I always have a move to like cover an account. He's like, I just don't. And it's those moments that break you. I always like to say like, I love sitting in first class or in Comfort Plus. I'm a snob when I was a snob when I traveled, but there's nothing like a 12-hour delay or an overnight delay that will make me relish and appreciate 31 seat C more than like.
And landing when you're supposed to land.
Yeah. Like I will gladly sit next to the bathrooms in the last row, crammed in, and I'll not get drink service, and I will just sit quietly and mind you've broken me, Delta.
Oh yeah, that's where I was at, where I'm like, just get me on a plane, like, and get me to a hotel bed, and no one bother me, like for 12 to 16 hours. It was just, and I knew I had like client emails stacking up. Like I'm like, I can't even open the apps on my phone because it ain't gonna be pretty.
There was an element of that. I mean, I get that. We talk about this a lot. Like there's just so much going on in the overall and concentration. Where do I put my time? Put on more classical music. I was kind of there last week even. Like there are times where it just gets to be, if I let it go too much, I don't even open like LinkedIn because I know it's going to say 18 messages, 48 notifications. And I'm like, I can't. I just can't.
And it's like, especially for someone like me that it's managed, but I have ADHD. It's like, if I feel that overwhelm, I will go into like paralysis.
Shut down.
You know what I mean? It's like, I will just be paralyzed and I will stare and I'll be like, I have to start with one of these. I can't choose. And then that makes it worse. So it's like, it's the same thing where if I know I'm in that state, like I have to be prepared. I need to be like if I log in and there's like 18 emails, am I okay with that? I'm like, yeah, okay, good, we'll go do it. But if my brain's like, no, don't do it, no, I'm like, I am better off delaying it the 2 to 3 hours that it takes for me to just process other stuff and then go back to it. My answers in my work will be far better than if I try and force myself to do it when I know I'm just going to get overwhelmed.
100%. And I appreciate you mentioning that. I wasn't going to mention it, but
Yeah.
like, unless you were comfortable, like you and I both battle that.
Yeah.
We both have ADHD. And when I tell people who don't have it, and it's funny because it's a joke to you and I, because
Yeah.
it's kind of true. And I was in a call last week with someone and I was talking about it and I mentioned it and they were like, really? Like, what's that? I'm like, no, it's a joke. Like I like what I tell people is like I medicate to be able to like focus.
Yeah.
But the focus, it's like driving a car without power steering.
Yes.
I said, so there's always a chance I go to make a cup of coffee and 18 minutes later, Amy comes downstairs and is like, what are you doing? And I'm organizing a drawer because I go into the drawer to get something and I'm like, oh, this drawer is out of.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's the most important project in the world. Meanwhile, Mixtape Digital's on fire and I have like 5 things to do and I have a meeting that starts in 2 minutes.
I read this article once that they really explained it best to people that don't have it, is that it's really a misnomer to say that it's a deficit of attention. The problem is that it's not that you lack attention, it's that you lack the control of where it goes. And I'm like, that is the best explanation I've ever heard, because there are certain things, like when I was being assessed for it, the woman didn't even ask if. She just said, what's one thing you can do and you can do for 4 to 5 hours and you'll completely lose track of time? And I was like, reading. And she said, it's usually reading or music. She said, there's this common theme that hyper-focus is kicked off with something creative, typically. And so that's kind of what I always tell people. Like, it's not that I'm not able to focus. It's that I can't control what I'm going to focus on unless and that was the weird part of when I first started medication for it. I was like, I have to work on that and I'm just going to go do it now. Like it was very freeing. You know what I mean? To be like, I need to get this done and I can go do it now. Like I'm not being pulled by something else. I'm not paralyzed or feeling overwhelmed. It was very freeing in an odd way. But it's hard to explain to people that don't have it.
When were you diagnosed? Like, was there a job you had or like a situation where you were like, this isn't.
Honestly, it was perimenopause that did me in. I knew I had it most of my life.
Too.
It was manageable. Yeah, I know. But it was manageable, right? But it was like, once the hormone changes started, I'm like, I'm paralyzed. Like it was so noticeably amplified. And my husband was just like, you okay? And I'm like, no, I am constantly frustrated with my inability to finish anything. It was driving me crazy because you do the thing where you start something and then you're like, I got these other 5 things to do. Let me start them so I don't forget that I need to finish them. And then you wind up with 30 things you've started and have not finished. And it's so overwhelming and it's so frustrating. And you know you did it to yourself, but you don't know how else to make sure those things happen and get done and they don't fall off your radar.
I've always been jealous of Jeff Allen is a good example. Jeff Allen he always would joke that he was a philosophy major that got into digital marketing. He's a deep thinker. And he can think very deeply about a topic and he can time box and he gets up at like 3 a.m. and runs and then he like reads for a while and then he gets his day started. He's just able to absorb like at depth a topic. Yeah. And I think he gave me a review once where he was like, if you can focus that type of like he's like, I'm friends with you and I see the things you get excited about and that you get hyper focused on. If there's ever any way you can focus that here and here, you're superstar. And I'm like, you don't understand. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
I can't tell you if that's ever going to happen. If it does, great. But like, there are times like, and it's a thing where I like to think of myself as considerate and people are like, I'll send someone a gift or I'll send someone a card or I'll send someone out of nowhere. And people are like, that's really kind of you. And I was like, yeah, I was hyper focused on it. Like I was hyper focused on.
I had to do it. I had to scratch the itch.
I had to scratch the itch. But I'm not the kind of person who would like, it's a great idea to load everyone's birthdays into a calendar and tell people how much I appreciate them and connect with them. The second I load it in a calendar and I make it a task, done. No, it's not going to happen. And if worse yet, they'll like start to like pile up and then I'll spend all weekend distracting myself from having to do them.
Yes.
Like just thinking about how I have to do it.
There's suddenly 18 other things that are way more important, even though they're not.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So one thing I love about you, you can walk into any pitch and talk to any client and just be like yourself, just do your thing. You're fantastic communicating to clients.
Thank you.
Tell me about the worst client pitch you've ever been on.
I would say that there's probably a common theme of the ones that were bad, if that makes sense. Like there's not one that comes to mind at this point because I've done so many, but there are themes, you know? The ones that never go well are either the ones where, and these are typically smaller accounts, but it's very rare that I've had it work out well when you're taking over an account from somebody that managed it themselves. They don't want to let go. They always know better. It's just very tough to get around. And they really feel like their account is this one special case of something. But when you've managed millions of dollars in spend at some point, you're like, no, there are patterns. Like, I'm sorry to tell you. And it doesn't mean that there's a cookie cutter approach to everything. That's not what that means. But it does mean that there are, categorizations of ways you can handle things. And one of them will probably work for the situation you're in. They don't want to hear that. So I think that those are the ones that, at least from winning them over and then taking over the account, they almost never work out well. I think the other thing is just when you deal with C-suite, when it's not something they do every day, but they don't know where their lane ends, and everybody thinks they're good at marketing. So really good marketers tend to have a lot of soft skills that can't be taught, or they're learned over a really, really long period of time. The hard part with it is that because it's not, they're not going to their lawyer and telling them how to do their job, right? Because that's like, you had to go to school and it's like documented rules and you need to know all those intricacies to even be able to practice it. So they defer to them.
Any asshole can do this.
Like that's the problem with and everyone's like, well, I use Google. I know how it works. And I'm like, really? Okay. Tell me more. It's like the Willy Wonka meme. I'm like, really? Tell me more. Tell me how it works.
Well, it's funny because you and I know you're referring to. We have a recent example of this, which is hilarious, right? But which it was recently gotten better. We always used to say the good clients who come in and it's like they're going to the doctor. They're like, I Googled it. Here's what it says, but you're the expert. Tell me what's wrong in here. Those are perfect because we do this every day. We're going to tell you to our best effort what we see and what we would do differently. Anytime CEO has like the C-suite, the CEO, CMO has an idea because they managed a Google account 7 years ago, or when we get introduced, like sometimes the CMO or the VP comes to us and then they do this thing where they're like, okay, I need to talk to my team and let them know that we're going to do this. And you're like, shit, because they're going to bring them on the pitch because they need their subject matter experts there. And then they're like, great, you just pitted you just like put us in a back alley together and like broke a pool cue in half and threw one half of it in the middle. We're not here to fight them, but you're basically asking, like, it's hard for them not to take that as like an attack. And it's like, it's not an attack whatsoever, but like, here's something you might want to do different.
Yeah. It's always kind of tough when those are probably the other ones too, where it's like if there's been somebody internally handling it and they bring you or it was a different agency that the internal person liked that management didn't, there's just and I'm just a factual person. To me, it's just data. So I don't really get involved in the dance of who liked who and whatever. It's like, I try and be sensitive to it, but I'm also like, look, your job was for me to hit you between the eyes with the truth. So it's like, this is the data. This is what it looks like. Like, I'll try and frame it as kindly as I can, but it's also an awkward position to be in because you're like, you're wanting me to give you the truth, but you're putting me in a situation where you're also being like, dance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't, those are very awkward because you either wind up watering down how poorly things are being run. You know what I mean? It's like if there's serious problems, you're either watering it down because you're trying to protect the feelings of people that like whoever's managing it, or you're honest about how it's going, and then those people are mad, and those are the people you're working with ongoing. So it's a tough situation because you're kind of in a no-win where it's like you're being paid to do something, but you have to be really careful about how you do it.
There's absolutely very well said. And I will say this again, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass, but there's having worked on a new biz team forever, like you hit a point when that's your job, just to like win new business. Yeah. It's so tempting to try to find we can do that. Like, here's what we can do to succeed. And it's really hard to control not getting ahead of yourself and telling them yes just to win the business. Because honestly, half the time, whatever they're concerned about doesn't fucking matter anyway.
Yeah.
So when you win the business,
the main problem.
They're going to stick around for years. It's not the main problem.
Yeah.
Pitches I was on were like the international fucking like Yandex as a strategy was the most critical thing. And then guess what? They never even fucking did anything on Yandex, right? But I've been on a couple pitches recently with you where you're like hard truth, right? Like, here's the reality and here's why you shouldn't do this. And in my head, I'm like, uh-oh, are we going to get this? And literally though, people just want honesty and transparency and the truth. Cause
I
they're like,
think that that's
thank
the
you.
biggest difference. Like I feel like that's the biggest difference I see between agencies are the ones that, and I don't know that it's always intentional because I think to your point, sometimes they're sending in a salesperson that doesn't know, like they can't manage the expectations of some of the intricacies of what would be taken on from an account perspective. So I don't know that it's always intentional, but I think that I feel like one of the things that I hear consistently from clients over my career, for better or for worse, usually for better, is that they're like, I just feel like I can ask you and you're going to give me the truth. Like, you're going to tell me we shouldn't do that. You're not going to say yes to say yes. But my thing is, it's like, I'd love to act like it's completely altruistic. But the other part of that, too, is I've seen what happens when you don't do that, right? It's like it doesn't work out well for anybody. So I just look at it as an energy type thing where I'm like, if we say yes and placate this person now and we know this is not going to pan out, you're just going to have all the angst later, right? It's like, I'd rather just have that conversation up front, manage the expectations so they can make a decision fully informed, because the explosions later are much easier to manage. Because, like, remember, we talked about this. We told you that, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, here's the email thread. Here was the data I pulled. It de-escalates everything really quickly to just kind of see around the corners up front versus clients want to be told yes, they want to feel good, but I just don't ever see it work out very well
Yeah.
later. It's like,
No, yeah,
you
you're
got to
right.
choose where you take the medicine. You know what I mean?
One of my favorite things that you do is like setting that benchmark or framework, because you've done this a few times, and then referring back to it. It's like, remember we talked about this,
Yeah.
and here's what we said.
Yep.
This is the mission. Here's the expectations. It's a fantastic way to, you almost like go to the court reporter and you're like, can you repeat the answer to question 4? And they like pull up their little thing and they're like, this is what they said. Because the client's even like, yeah, you're right. It's a little dose of medicine.
Yeah.
Like, hey, remember, we're taking vitamins here. We're not taking medicine. Here's a little bit of medicine to make you feel better, reminding you why we're taking vitamins.
Yeah. But that's part of the reason too why, and you've seen it, anytime we start talking to someone, I'm like, I want to know, what does success look like to them? And I need them to be specific. I ask that every time. If they don't, because it's too easy. There are so many things that can be measured. There are so many numbers. And it's like, I watch a lot of brands and a lot of clients get really sidetracked by that. And it's just like, I'm like, I know, I see it. I see that it's over there. I know it looks really interesting. I know you want to pull off the interstate. And like, it's like, when you're driving down 95 and you see Pedro at south of the border, you're like, wow, that's weird. Like, look, there's weird stuff. Let's get off and explore. And I'm like, nope. No, we are going to Key West, my friend. We need to make it to Key West in 4 days. We will not do it if we stop at south of the border. Like, it's not going to happen. So it's like but it's, and even as a marketer, it's like, there are things where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but you can't get distracted, because then all of a sudden, then it's like ADHD. The next thing you know, you're like, how did we get here?
What the fuck are we doing here?
What are we doing here? So it's easy, I think, for brands to get distracted by that stuff and feel like they can be successful at all of the things. And it's like, that's why it's super important to be like, ultimately, this is what we want. And how, are you regimented about how we get there? Because if so, we might not get there. Some places are like, it has to be this. We need to spend this much in this. And I'm like, if what you care about is total return on your marketing spend, you got to be open to being fluid, right? Like, it can't be like, it has to be this much goes to this much. It's like, if there's an overall business goal, that's what we're aiming towards. And what that looks like is going to change probably over time.
I like it. You're a doctor. You dispense medicine. You dispense hard truth. I want to touch on this before we wrap, because I don't think everyone knows this, because you are one of the busiest people I've ever met. And at some point in your life recently, you said, I want to start a candle company.
Hey, what's going on? I was bored.
So Candles is your candle company. You're always going to some show and you're always selling a ton of candles. How long ago did you decide to found this? And what made you start a candle company of all things?
It wasn't like, I don't know. When people say, when did you start it? I'm like, I don't really feel like I started seeing what I could do with it until like 2023. I mean, like, I started messing around with making stuff in 2021, but I didn't set out to make it like a business. It was a good friend of mine, kind of adjacent to our industry, had passed away very suddenly. And he was one of the most brilliant creative people I'd ever worked with. And I've always been I'm one of those odd mixes of like right brain, left brain. Like, I'm sure you've seen it. Like, I can do the data stuff, but then it's like I can turn that off and be like, this is why your ad copy isn't working. It needs to be written like this. So it's like
Totally.
I have this fluidity that exists between both sides of my brain. And he used to always give me shit because he's like, you never do anything creative. Like, we worked together, we had clients together. He's like, you're always in spreadsheets. He's like, you need to do something. Because as a creative, he's like, you need to feed that. Like, you're going to become miserable if you don't. And he was right. Like, I'd stopped reading fiction. I had stopped, like, I just wasn't doing anything creative. And I didn't realize how much it was like withering away my soul to not do that. So when he passed away, I was like, okay, so this was kind of like to honor him, like, you were right. I'm not taking care of that side of myself. So I just started kind of messing around with making things. And for whatever reason, when I started just messing around, because I always liked scents. I'd always been a scent person. And I started making them, and my friends were like, I would totally pay you for these. And I'm like, really? I'm like, and I really was just kind of like, oh, it's a way to fund a hobby I like. You know what I mean? It wasn't, I was like, it just, if it pays for itself and it breaks even and I enjoy doing it, whatever. So I started doing like a couple just like 1-day craft shows at breweries and stuff like that. And I was doing really well. Like, I was a little surprised. And it was fun for me because I was able to I could do it. I could market it the way I wanted. I could name the stuff whatever I wanted. I could design things however I wanted. Like, I just had complete creative freedom to just do what I wanted. And it was very low risk. It's like, okay, if it doesn't work out, I lost a few $100, right? But it started like really taking off. And then in 2023, I did I was like, you know what, let's do something big and just see what it does. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just curious. So I did this enormous, I got in, which kind of shocked me, but I did this enormous 4-day Christmas show that's here in Richmond that like draws in people from everywhere.
Is this the same one you're doing like next week?
This will be the one the first week in December.
Okay.
So this is another month and a half away.
It's like the Chris Kindle market, right? Like I have friends who go to this big market and like there's one in Louisville and there's one in Indy and it's like huge. And it's
called the Bazaar Bazaar. And this is its 50th anniversary. And it's like, it's kind of fun when you go because it's like, there's like the grandma that's been going since it started and she's there with her daughter who she took when she was little. Now so they all come in like matching Christmas outfits. Like, it's really fun. Everyone has a really great time. It's shoulder to shoulder craziness in the aisles. Like, it is, and it's 11 hours a day. It's nonstop. And I was like, well, let's just try it. And I did ridiculously well. And like, my website sales popped off the month after because everybody went through what they got for Christmas and they ordered more. And I was like, shit, I think I have a business.
You have a business.
I think people really, because I'm so generally ambitious, I think people thought I sat down and made this business plan and decided. I really didn't. I was literally just like, this is just fun and I'll do it. And then people kept buying and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just keep doing this. And so I just have done the same. I have some shows that I do religiously every year because people come, they're like my regulars now. They show up, I go up to DC, they come to all 3 shows a year, they buy a ton from me, and then they go back. And then over the summer, they'll buy a couple things here and there. And it's been fun to like get reactions to stuff in person too, I think, because I'm so used to online sales where it's like, all you have is data. You know what I mean? You like, the only feedback you have is, did somebody buy something or did they not? What ad did they click on to buy it? And I don't even run ads for this side of my life. It's all in person, word of mouth, outreach to wholesale, that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting thing as a marketer to watch someone give me money for something that my 2 hands made. I don't know how else to explain. It's weird. It was very surreal. Like, I just made that last week and someone wants to give me money for it. Like, it was a very strange feeling. But then also just seeing people's like in-person reactions to things was super interesting because I was never on that side of marketing. Like, I didn't do focus groups or anything like that ever. So it's kind of like a focus group where you're just watching, like, what do people like? What do they not like? What do they comment on? How do they feel about the price? Like, it's a lot of studying humans and how they interact with your stuff, which is just very different than the rest of my marketing life.
This is remarkable. Have you ever thought about, is it going to stay like just this thing you do? Or have you ever been like, wonder how far I could push this? Like, you talked about not doing ads for it, but like, have you ever thought about, is this a true e-com play? Do I hire a staff?
Yeah, eventually I'll wind up hiring. Like I said, my husband has learned how to make a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He never knew he was going to become a candle maker and a room and linen spray maker, but here we are. Eventually I'll hire. We're at the point where it's like, I think it's grown enough that we'll be able to make some different decisions next year about how we want to do stuff. I've scaled the wholesale side, which that was kind of fun. That I think that I was successful with that because of the marketing. Like, I have an email strip that goes out and I've monitored open rates and response rates and take rates from samples. Like, there is that part that I think gave me an edge where it's like I was able to identify quickly, these are the types of stores I do well at. I concentrated on focusing outreach to them. So it's like I knew kind of what to look for, like when you see something working, what to double down on. So that part of my background helped because it's easy to want to just make the stuff you like making, right? You're like, I'm just want to do that. And then no one buys it. And you're like, okay, I don't have a business. So kind of knowing what to be like, I give the people what they want, paying attention to that. But I think my plan is eventually like someday when I retire from digital marketing, I'd love to still have this running and just do that. Cause like I'm never going to retire and sit and do crossword puzzles.
No, no.
It's not how I'm built. Like I need something to do. So
I don't see that in your future.
no. So it's a fun side thing. It's not my living, but it brings me a lot of joy. So
Well, and there's an element of it that it's, like you said, it's something you created. It's by
yep.
hand. I like that it's in person. You travel for it. Like you're always talking about loading up the truck and going to the shop and like
I'm in great shape. Loading 45-pound boxes of cases of wax keeps me in really good shape.
And I'm always talking about him because we're fucking kindred spirits. But Jeff Allen and I have talked a lot about you need something in our business. You need something to do that
Yeah.
only you control.
Yes.
And that you're responsible for creating, whether it's landscaping or whether it's woodworking or whether it's running or working. There's something that you need that isn't just influencing and hoping for the best through
Yep.
tactics,
Yeah.
but is like, I am the only one who can do this. And I am solely responsible for being able to make this happen. And I think that is, to me, it's a red thread across like people with good balance and successful marketers, in that you need it helps me turn it off. Right. Like,
yeah.
so
100%.
I mean, if I'm installing a new thermostat this weekend, right? Like it's like a little thing that I broke a wire while I was doing it. And I was like, fuck. And there's no one I have a guy, Pete could come bail me out if it's truly fucked. But
Yep.
really, like that's the last thing I want to do. Like I need to solve this problem. And you were talking
It's
about like the wax shortage. Like you just like,
yeah, I was
have to
going to
solve
say
this.
that. There's something to knowing that you have to solve the problem. Like you and it's amazing the confidence you start to build over time. Like that when people are like, "Oh my god, you pack up and go to a show. I don't know how you could do it." I'm like, "But once you have no choice but to do that, you realize it's not that scary." And it was like I was telling you, there was a major disruption at the largest manufacturer of the wax that like pretty much every maker in this country uses. They own like probably 90% of the market. Plant is completely shut down. Every supplier that you buy from sent emails last Wednesday, Thursday, and they're like, hey, basically what's on our shelves and what's already on trucks to us is all we're going to have for the season. That's it. So it became one of those things where we're like, all right, well, I've already got 4 shows I've committed to that cost me about $4,000 in booth fees. I can't not have stuff to sell there. So it's like you sit over the weekend doing math of like, how much can we stock up on? Can we get through the holidays? But it's like, they're interesting problems to solve. And I think the other piece that's been interesting is I do a lot of white label, like for events and, corporate gifting and that kind of stuff. And
some large corporate stuff.
Very like 500 candle custom order is going out this week. So I think what's interesting is people are like, oh, do you not like that as much? Because like, it's not my brand. And I'm like, I actually find it really fun. Like, and I think it's the marketer part of me because it's helping them solve the problem of, I need to give out something cool. This is the theme. Like, what can you make that smells like it or is a funny nod to it? Or can we name it something amusing? Like, it still scratches that creative itch for me. Even though it sounds like it would be drier, it's not. It's actually super interesting to me because it's a different marketing problem than I would normally solve, right?
Yeah.
It's not, I'm making stuff for people I would never make for my own brand, but they're like, can you do this? And I'm like, sure. It's like, we'll figure it out. So it's fun to solve those problems for people still.
Are you going to have enough inventory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will have enough to make over 2,000 candles. So I may have overbought. The problem is they don't know when it's going to open back up. So I was like, we just need to pretend like I'm not going to have anything until like February and let's just plan accordingly. They're also discontinuing one of the jars I use. So that was fun to find out in the same week. So I'm like, okay, we'll figure that out too. So that's the next problem that's less pressing because they have a lot more stock of that. But yeah, the wax stuff, I mean, we're getting 20 cases. They're 45 pounds a piece.
Jesus.
They'll be arriving here today, so we'll be unloading cases of wax. I don't know where we're going to put it all. Like, we have a little studio shop. It's probably going to take up a good half of it in the back, but it is what it is.
I love it. I'm a customer there as well.
Yeah.
I was actually burning one of my candles over the weekend. So it's Susan, thank you. I appreciate your time. Wonderful catching up. It's hilarious because I did make you do this at 9 a.m. on a Monday, and I appreciate you making
I'm
time
a
for me.
morning person, though. You know, I'm
See,
way better in the morning.
I
You
would
know, by
not have
2
asked if I
PM,
did
I'm
not
like, don't
know.
fucking schedule anything with me after 2. I'm horrible.
You're always the first green light who beats me on Slack every morning. So thank you for making time. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in about an hour at
Yeah,
our weekly sound check meeting.
you will.
Thanks for making time.
Sure.
Bye.